Hey guys, it's Sumner here, and I'm going to reveal the Land Insights comping tool, which is coming to the platform the 31st of March, 2025. I'll give you guys a full rundown on how the tool works. Just for context, this is a free tool within Land Insights for all of our users. You can use it as much as you want. You can pull 1,000 comps a day, and you might want to if you're running a big operation. We've been using this within our land business for the last year, and it's been an incredible change to our business. I mean, it's dropped the average time to comp a property by 60+%. Our team is buying back typically about 2 hours per day for our acquisition team. We've been able to shrink our team size. We're able to have one underwriter that underwrites literally 300, 400 plus properties a month with one underwriter, which is essentially unheard of. It's allowed us to scale our texting operation. I mean, it's just been an incredible asset for us, and we're finally releasing it to the public on the 31st of this month. So let's go through it here, and I'll show you guys the exact breakdown. So we've got a property pulled up. It's a 1.8 acre property. You guys can see the county name here, owner name, parcel number, and the acreage right down below. Okay. There's two really fascinating things that you're going to see immediately. You're going to see this Parcel Insights column and this Market Insights column. So this is a high-level kind of snap overview of all the due diligence factors that you need to know kind of immediately. Now, of course, there's other things to still understand, right? You can go look at the chain of title or liens or anything along those lines. But when a new lead comes into our system, I want our team to be able to figure it out like top level in a snap of our finger. So you've got the speed gain here in terms of like just being more efficient and faster. You also have, if you're a brand new land investor, perhaps an accuracy gain. Perhaps these are things that aren't a part of your due diligence process now that we can shed light on to where you can be a new land investor and be running due diligence and comps at the highest level. So in our business, we've seen obviously the efficiency gain, we've bought back time, but we've also seen an explosion in accuracy. Our team has become pinpoint accurate with text offers and offers on the phone. It's just been an incredible change. And I think that's very fascinating for new folks. You could be 3 months in, 6 months into land and kind of be comping at the highest level nowadays by using the code that we've built. So we'll look at the Parcel Insights here. You guys are going to see that we have a 3-tiered system, green being pros, yellow being neutral, and then red being cons, okay, a red flag. And we have the same concept for Market Insights. So let's go through the Parcel Insights here. This property has less than 30% flood zone, has less than 30% wetlands. Anything under 30% is kind of within our area of being, okay, cool, this checks out. Has a tax delinquency. Now that's a motivation filter, right? For us, it's actually encouraging that, hey, the seller's kind of raising their hand and saying they might not be interested in holding on to this thing much longer. The seller lives out of the zip code, they live out of the county, and they live out of the state, and it was purchased more than 5 years ago. Now, the yellow flag, if you will, is that it's in an HOA. Now, that's not a deal breaker by any means, but it's worth pursuing further and looking at the code's covenants, restrictions, looking at HOA dues, all that jazz. Now, over here on the Market Insights, you'll see from a kind of snapshot overview what's going on in this market. So overall, rural market pending count is greater than 10, okay? Overall, rural market 1-year STR is less than 100%. So it's not so bad that we've labeled it as a red flag. There's a floor that if it gets beneath it, it'll be labeled as a red flag, but it is teetering. So it is something to watch out for. It's saying, hey, there's not as much turnover in this market as we typically like to see within LEA or Land Insights. Overall info market, 0 sold in the last 90 days. Okay, cool. This is kind of like a rural recreational infill lot. It's 1.8 acres. The ultimate use case is definitely to be built on, right? This is not going to be a property more than likely where someone's going to go and hunt on it or things along those lines. So certainly a red flag that no inventory has changed hands in the last 90 days. And in a second here, we'll go through and look at the active comps. And you can see how much active inventory there is. So that is a major red flag. Overall, infill market 1-year STR is less than 50%. Cool. So the rural market was less than 100%, but the infill market, which is what this is going to be categorized under, is less than 50%. That is certainly a red flag and probably something that would A, either prevent me from pursuing this property, or B, would warrant a massive renegotiation. Now, the overall infill market pending count is also 0. There's nothing currently pending within this bracket of size. And the overall rural market activity count greater than 250. Okay. Interesting. That's being the total supply of the market. So you guys can see down here, we've got the property mapped. You can snap over to show all comps, or we can snap over to show just the selected comps. You'll see down below there's an area to actually select comps. We have both an automated Land Insights comp value as well as a manual comp value, and we'll show you guys here both in a second, okay? We'll leave all comps on. You guys can see there's some comps over here. Very interesting. You guys can click this to jump directly to the parcel. Okay, so if you start panning around on the map and you want to jump back, you snap back with that button here. Over here, we've got our data layers, okay? So this is what you can come and overlay on top of for your due diligence. You can put your contour lines to see the topography. You can put your zip code layer, surface water layer, all that jazz. We'll leave it as it stands right now. Down below is your tool, so you can use your guys' ruler here if you wanted to measure the actual size of the property. Come here and say, okay, cool. It's 305 feet deep. We will remove this. Down here, you see the map layers. We've got multiple different map layer variations. Some maps update more frequently. Some maps allow for a higher level of resolution. And frankly, some markets just seem to map better with certain maps. Typically, we're using the high res or the NAIP, but there's really a use case for all of them, and we give you access to toggle between them, okay? Of course, you guys can zoom in and out and toy around the map as you like. Now, down here, let's say I want to show all comps, but I want to filter it so it's just showing comps that are relevant to this property. So it's a 1.8 acre. So let's say, hey, just show me the 1 to 2 acres. And now anything that's in excess of 2 acres or beneath 1 acre, it's going to whittle it down from my view. So now I don't have to look at 7 acres or 20 acres or things along those lines. So oftentimes when I'm going to do my initial kind of oversight with comps, I'm going to plug in the manual fields for stuff that's within my size bracket, typically. But there's certainly a case to play around with it. Let's say this was a subdivided property and it was 10 acres, and I wanted to take it down to 1 to 2 acres. I could go and plug that in and look at what the child lots for sale for. So it certainly works as standard flips. Obviously works as well for looking at child parcels if you plan to subdivide. Now down here is where it gets very fascinating. You'll see our Land Insights comp value. Now, this is currently in beta mode. We are feeding more and more data to make this even better. As it stands now, it has an unbelievable level of accuracy. I mean, for us in our business, about 9 times out of 10, it's pinpoint accurate to what we've come up manually. We've even back tested this on previous properties. And frankly, the accuracy is incredible. But of course, there are situations where there's a lot of nuance to the property. Let's imagine this property had a pole barn on it. Let's imagine this property had a man-made lake and a driveway built and a building pad. Those are things that the automated comp tool cannot account for, okay? Physical improvements or oddities along those lines cannot be added into the comps. So there is certainly a time to plug in manual comps, which we'll show you down below. And there's a time that we can start applying rules to the manual comp system, which I'll show you guys here in a second, okay? Here's where you guys are gonna see the metrics. So really what we built here is kind of a race car dashboard for metrics. And you guys will see it is ranked from green being the best and the reddish orange being the worst, okay? We've got a lot of on-market comps. We've got 411 on-market. That's a lot of active supply. And you can see this kind of gauge down here to the bottom left. That means it's not so great. Now, we've got rules that we've back-tested inside of Leah to come up with these figures that let us know if it's in the red zone or the yellow zone, or best case scenario, it's in the green zone. Now, just because all of these aren't in green doesn't mean it's a deal breaker, but it starts to tell us that perhaps we need to renegotiate, perhaps we need to bring in creative terms to take down this deal, or in some cases, we need to walk away from the property. We've got a county strength in the 6-month STR, which is currently at 34.55%. It's quite bad, to be honest. How easy is it to price? So we've got kind of a pricing ranking algorithm that we use to tell you, hey, we think we have a high likelihood of making a very accurate offer here. And so this is quite easy. And that's because it's in a subdivision. There's a lot of homogeneous properties. There's a lot of comps that are within the same size bracket that are in very close proximity. So for us to say that it's easy, it gives you kind of the green light that you should feel comfortable underwriting this deal, okay? Now, don't take it as gospel. Again, there are going to be situations like the property has major improvements to it or major cons to it that cannot be compensated. And so it's important that you still read between the lines and run your own due diligence on top of this, okay? This is really to be used as, think about it like an assistant, okay? This is like your college intern that's helping within your business, but by no means is this going to step in as the CEO of your business. You don't want code running your entire operation. Now, here we'll look at the comping scores. Next logical sale, pretty much 100% based off this price. So our pricing is telling you that, yeah, based off the price that we're seeing here, you had 100% likelihood of being the next logical sale in this market. You guys will see this change as we start adding in the manual comps. Same thing, this will show the suggested comp count. So as we move down to the manual comp value, you guys will see we have rules that say, hey, we believe you need at least 4 comps to have a reasonable likelihood of actually pricing this thing correctly. So if you were to add 1 manual comp, you'll see this is going to flag pretty low to the left-hand side saying, we think you should add in more comps to feel confident, okay? And then this is a score here that's not coming up in the situation, but we'll show you guys here in a bit. This is the owner makes money. Now, if we can actually pull from the county records what the seller bought it for relative to what we're going to offer on the property, we'll actually show you, hey, the seller's going to make $5,000 in spread here or something along those lines, which is not a surefire way to say that the seller's absolutely going to sell just because they're making money on it. But what we found statistically within our business, that there's a higher chance of the seller selling if they're going to be profitable in transaction. Now, it's not to say that sellers don't sell in distressed situations below their purchase price, but it's an interesting little cue to keep your eyes on. Now, of course, not every property can we pull that information from the county. So it's not guaranteed on every single property that you're going to bring in here that we're going to be able to access that previous purchase price. So down here, you guys are going to see the manual comp value. So for this to really be relevant, we need to move down to the sold comp section, okay? Well, look at this sold comp field here, and you guys can see we've got the age of the comp, the price of the comp, the acreage of the comp, the price per acre, the distance from your property, the zip code, and the days on market for the sold comp, okay? A couple things that you see on the action column, we can add this to our selected comps. We can click this to actually go and populate the comp and look at the listing, and you can click on this to actually view the comp on the map. So if you want to say, let me make sure this property actually looks like my property. Let me actually go run my due diligence on this comp. You guys can click this and it'll populate on the map for you. Let's imagine that I want to take this comp here and I want to add it as a selected comp, okay? We'll take that one. We'll take this comp here that was 8 months ago. We'll take this comp that was 8 months ago as well. And we'll grab this one just for the sake of simplicity, okay? Now we've got 4 comps here, okay? You guys can see our manual comp value. So this manual comp value based off these 4 comps I pulled here are actually going against this Land Insights automated comp. Now, it's not to say that my manual comp is accurate in this situation. I just grabbed 4 comps, okay? More times than not, as you start probing in and start creating these manual comp values, you'll notice that if you're running your due diligence correctly, the vast majority of the time, it's going to line up almost to a T to this Land Insights comp value. But again, there is a time to read between the lines. Let's imagine that this property here actually had a structure on it. Let's imagine that it had a little homestead cabin that someone put on it. So I'd come down here to this add adjustment section, and I would say cabin. And let's say based off my experience working in Costilla County, that a cabin of this square footage, let's call it 300 square feet, is going to add 20% to the value. That's an adjustment that I'm going to make to the property. And you guys can see it's actually bumped up this manual comp value. But let's also say that on this property, it's got 30% of it in flood zones. And the way the flood zones intersect the property, they actually running along parallel to the access point. And so I'm going to say flood zone on access. And I'm going to actually drop it down by 15%. So we're going to come in here, put a negative 15%. We'll add this here. So you guys actually reset the price here. And so for the outlier situations, the properties that have odd topography, they have wetlands, flood zone intersecting the access, perhaps there's a swamp at the front of the access point, or on the flip side, perhaps the seller's made many improvements. It's got a septic system, a well system, a hunting cabin. It's got trail cameras for hunting, a lot of things that you wouldn't be able to figure out just through an automated comp value. You guys can actually go and plug this in here to create really accurate adjustments, okay? You guys can go down here again, you can see the selected comps that we've used. So I started looking at this and I said, okay, this was 77 days on market. Maybe I actually want to exclude this. These 2 down here had a pretty quick turn on the days on market. So perhaps that one was a funky property. That's why it took a little bit longer to sell. So as I go down through here, to say, all right, we're going to add this one that sold in 15 days. Now, again, I'm just going through this briefly. There's many other variables that we would look at, but just to give you guys an example, we'll come back up here. And again, you guys can see it's actually adjusted this. Now, this is where it gets even more fascinating. You're going to see our manual comp offer and profit. So we just clicked on this and it breaks down some very fascinating math. So down here, let's say that we're offering 50%, okay? That's going to bring our offer to about $7,300 roughly. You can see that the range offer math here. See, our estimated closing costs are at $3,000 for this property. Let's say I've worked in Colorado before and I say, what, $3,000 seems a little high. What I've typically seen is about $1,200, okay? We'll add that in. We're saying realtor commission. I've got a great realtor out here that said they would charge me 5%. And so very quickly you can say, okay, at the 50% offer, I'm looking at about $5,300 in profit on this deal. Well, maybe that doesn't really make sense for me. So I actually want to come in and adjust this. We're going to change our offer to 40%. Cool. Now we're in a place where I think I could get funding on this deal or I want to take down this deal myself. Within a matter of seconds, you guys can estimate your deal profit. You guys can look at the return on that deal and see if it's going to make sense for yourself or for your funder. Just a really nice little breakdown that you have down below. Now you'll see in the sold comp section, we have it pre-populated with the 1 to 2 acres range. Let's say I wanted to change that and I say, you know what, show me 1 and I'll go up to 4 acres, okay? We'll adjust it. You guys can see it populates instantly. So you guys can toy around with this so you have more visibility. And we're showing comps that are within the last 12 months, okay? You guys can sort any of these columns by clicking on it. So let's say price per acre matters more to you, or maybe days on market. You guys can categorize this both from the high and from the low. So you guys can quickly sort it just to find what's most relevant. Typically in our business, we find that days on market, distance, and size seem to be very relevant. Now, same logic applies down below. You guys can see the active comps as well. Let's say I wanted to add in one of these active comps. You can see some of these have really high days on market. We can just click here and we're just going to sort from low to high. Okay, cool. This one was just listed, is listed 12 days ago. Let me find something that's a little more within our size range. Okay, this is 3.77. We'll grab this real quick, okay? We're going to come here. You guys will see up above, we've just populated this active comp for you guys in here as well. So if you guys want to have a blend of active and sold, you guys can certainly do this. Or you can come over here to this auto select comp feature. It's going to remove all the manual comps that we added in. We're going to click continue. And boom, you can see all the automated comps that it's added in based off our own internal algorithms. When we come up here, it's actually adjusted this to 11.1. And the reason that you're seeing a bit of a difference here relative to our math up here is, again, we came in and plugged in these adjustments. We said, hey, this has a cabin, so we knocked it up by 20%, but it also has flood zone on access, so we knocked it down by 15%. You guys can see here, there's a days on market adjustment based on the auto select comps of 0.35%. Okay, so as we come down here to the note section, let's just say I wanted to leave a note for my team to come back and review, or perhaps I want to leave a note for myself just so I say, hey, I'm underwriting this deal. If I do this deal, I can come back at a later date and come and check it out. So I might say something that says, seller responded to $5,500 offer through direct mail on 3/23/25. Property has cabin and flood zones running along the frontage. Okay. You guys can add your notes in here. It's going to automatically save. You see this little green check mark down below. That means that your notes have automatically saved. You don't need to click any buttons. You guys can come in here and make adjustments. Let's say we wanted to bold this or our team doesn't miss it or something along those lines. And boom, it's automatically saved. Now down below, you guys are going to see the market analysis. So just from a high level, if I want to snapshot this market, I don't want to have to pull back to the market selection section within Land Insights. I can see all of this here. Okay. You're going to see it is scored again with the red, the yellow, and the green. Unfortunately, nothing in this category is showing green because frankly, it's not a great market. You'll see it broken down for the county as well as broken down for our size bracket, which is showing the 1 to 2 acres. So here, county 3.41%. Over here for the 1 to 2 acres, it's a 1.41% last 30 days with 14 total sold. Really not a great setup. And all the way across the board, based off this information, I'm saying, okay, I don't think the 1 to 2 acres are what's in demand in this market. So if I were to make an offer to the seller, I might actually have to come back up here and say, add adjustment. And I might have to come in and say negative 30%. Slow market, right? So based off this information from the market, we can also adjust our pricing to compensate for the fact that this is a market where there's really not high demand for these kinds of properties. And on top of that, for the entire county metrics, there's also not high demand. Now, there can certainly be situations where there's low demand for this size bracket because there's just a low amount of inventory. Again, we can see by the active comps, that's certainly not the case. There is a ton of inventory and the county is low. So we match these things together. I do look at both the county and I look at the market statistics for that exact size range, as well as looking at the quantity. Now, down below, you guys are going to see the same due diligence snapshot view that you get inside of the data platform. We'll see a full summary of the property here. You can see it's bought 25 years ago. Here's the APN coordinates. They're delinquent since 2023. Again, that matches up with what you guys saw at the very top of the page here. See all the information is for the summary of the property. Same thing with the parcel. Same thing with the owner. Same thing with any structures on the property, which currently there are no structures. And again, a quick overview on the market statistics for 1 to 2 acres. There's 71 active, absolutely nothing pending, 38% in the last year, 9 sold in the last month. Again, this is kind of a continuation of this market analysis here. Now, it's my belief that this is one of the most important innovations that's ever come out in the land investing business. And I can say that with a high level of confidence because it has radically changed our business. In fact, in the last year, it's probably the greatest change that we've made in our business. We've been able to reduce our team size. We've been able to increase the efficiency for each team member. We've been able to increase the accuracy for the offers that we're making through alternative channels like text messaging or cold calling. We've been able to increase the accuracy of the offers that we're creating on the acquisition side. We've been able to train our team members faster because when we make a new hire, they get plugged into the system and we can compress years of experience that they can have access to immediately. And the best part is this is 100% free for your Land Insights user. There's no additional subscriptions that you have to pay for. There's no weird backdoor charging systems. There's no charge per use. This is entirely free for any Land Insights user. And it is my belief that if you're a new land investor or an extremely proficient land investor running an operation of 20 people, this has the ability to radically transform your business in 2025 and moving forward. If you guys would like to learn more about this feature and get a full demo on this and the entire Land Insights platform, I'm going to put a link down below. It's landinsights.co/apply. You guys go down there. Our team will walk you through the entire platform. And to make it worth your while, we're giving away 1,000 free hot seller leads for you on that call. No strings attached. You don't have to sign up. Come hang out with us. We'll show you the tool. And just for your time, just for being there, you'll walk away with 1,000 free leads in your pocket. Cheers.